You can draw this in Procreate. Creating a paper cutout effect is really one of my favorite things in Procreate, and this one is perfect for the winter season. Of course, as always, I will guide you through all the steps. We'll only be using brushes that are already in Procreate, and we're working on a canvas that is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. So if you are ready, let's just get started right away. Let's start off by creating the base shape of the body of the penguin. And I'd like to use the monoline brush for that. It's under calligraphy, a Procreate standard brush. And for the color, we'll use this one over here. That's the first color in the second row. Now the opacity of the brush should be at 100%, and I have the size set to 10%. And now let's draw an oval like this. Then hold your pen in place to make it snap to a perfect oval, and then just drag in the color. Now we are going to make it more like an egg shape so that the lower area is a bit broader than the top. And we'll do that by going to the magic wand and then to liquify. And with liquify, you can easily push and pull parts of your drawing. I have it set to push, and distortion and momentum are set to none, pressure to max, and you can turn up the size a bit, maybe to around 60%. And then we can pull out these lower areas a bit, making that just a little bit broader. You could make the top a little bit more narrow. So you get sort of an egg shape. And then tap the magic wand again. And again. Now we'll make a new layer on top of this. We'll tap the plus. And now for the color, we'll use this one over here. First color in the first row. And now we'll draw another circle like this. Hold your pen in place. Go for something like this. You can tap ellipse here at the top to move it around if necessary. Place it about here. So again, it's like an egg shape. This is the yolk. Let's drag in the color. Then let's go to the magic wand again and then to liquify. And we'll push here at the top a little bit, making that a bit more flat like this. And then tap the magic wand again to get out of here. So now we have our basic egg shape, the base for our penguin. So now let's start adding all the features. Let's start with the face. Let's first tap a layer one here, then we'll tap the plus. And then for our color, we'll grab this one over here. Second color in the second row. And for the brush, I'd like to go to the inking brushes and use the studio pen, but you could also use the monoline brush as long as it has a nice crisp edge. I just like the amount of control that this brush gives me, because the harder you press, the thicker your line will become. But of course, that only works if you have a pen that has pressure sensitivity. Now the opacity of the brush is at 100%. I have my size set to 10%. And now we are going to create sort of a heart shape. We'll go for something like this. Curve here. And another one here. And then here in the center, that's where the beak will be. And make sure that your shape is closed before you drag in the color. Maybe we can make it a bit broader here. You can just add to it. And over here. So you get something like this. Now let's make another layer on top of these layers. So let's go here and tap the plus, and then we'll grab this pink. Fourth color in the second row, and we'll use that for its beanie. We'll make a curved line, something like this. And then we'll go up here, add some volume, and then down here, making a closed shape, and then dragging in the color. Of course, you can go in here, tidy it up a little bit. And over here as well. Make a nice curve along its head. So you get something similar to this. Then we'll make a layer underneath this one. So first we'll tap this one, then we'll tap the plus. And then for the color, I'd like to use the third color in the second row. And then we'll make a shape here on top. Nice rounded shape. Make sure to close it and then drag in the color. Then let's go back to the face. Let's go to this layer, tap the plus for a new layer. Then we'll grab the pink again. And then I'd like to make the beak. Let's go in here and make a bit of a rounded triangular shape. Something like this. Then drag in the color. And then let's make the eyes. Let's make a new layer for that. Let's tap the plus. And then for the brush, I'd like to go back to the monoline brush. And for the color, we'll pick this one. That's the 6th color in the second row. And then I'd like to make the brush nice and big. Let's go for 65%. And then let's make a curve over here like this. You can hold your pen in place for a nice smooth curve. And then over here as well. About the same size. And now we are going to cut off a part. Since this is paper cutout, we want nice, clean, crisp corners. So let's tap and hold the eraser to make it switch to the monoline brush. And then cut off these bottom parts. Then let's go back to this layer where we have the beak. And let's also add rosy cheeks here. Let's grab that 4th color in the second row again. And let's make the brush a bit smaller, 10%. And then we'll make one over here. You'll hold your pen in place and then tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And do the same over here. Make sure they are about the same size. And of course you can tap circle here if you want to move it around a bit. Let's go for something like this and then drag in a color to fill these. Then we'll make a new layer on top of this. We'll tap the plus and we'll set the layer to clipping mask. I want to draw the top of the beak here and I don't want to go outside of the shape that I already have. And for the color, we'll grab this one, 5th color in the second row. And for the brush, let's go back to the studio pen. And then on top here, we'll make a curved shape like this. Next, let's give our penguin arms. And let's also change our background color. Let's tap background color here and grab this 1st color in the 1st row. Then for its feet, let's make a layer on top of this one. On top of layer 2 here, let's tap the plus. Then let's grab our pink 4th color in the second row. And then let's make one foot over here. Just like an oval, almost bean-like shape. And then one over here, a little bit higher. Going outside of our body shape. And then for its flippers or wings, let's make another layer. And it should be underneath the body layer. So first let's tap the plus, then tap and hold that layer and drag it all the way to the bottom so that it's underneath the body. Then we'll grab the body color. That's the 1st color in the second row. And then we'll make its wings. We'll start about here. Make like a shark fin shape and drag in the color. And then on this side as well, shark fin shape and drag in the color. Then let's go back to the beanie. Let's go to this layer and let's tap the plus for a new layer on top. Then we'll grab the pink again, 4th color in the second row, and let's add a little pom-pom. Just by making these semicircles like this, and then make sure to close the shape behind here and then drag in the color. And now let's also add a little pattern to the beanie. And here you can add whatever you like. Make sure to go to the beanie shape, then tap the plus, set that new layer to clipping mask so you won't be able to go outside of the shape. And now you can add a pattern. I'll go for a zigzag pattern. But you can add whatever you like. You can vary here. I'll just make 2 lines like this, and I'll make sure to close them. And then I'll drag in the color. Next, for the fun part, we are going to add that paper cutout look to our penguin. And for each of these layers, we'll take 2 steps. We'll add a shadow and we'll add a little edge of light to give our paper thickness. You'll see what I mean once we do it. First, let's start with the feet. And what we'll do first is duplicate this layer. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate. Then we'll go to the bottom one and add a dark color there. We'll add this 6th color in the 2nd row. And let's drag it on there, on these feet. And you won't see it now, but when you go to your layer menu, you'll see that these are dark now. Then we'll go to the magic wand, use Gaussian blur, slide to the right to, well, let's say 5%. Then go to the move and transform tool, that's the little arrow. Make sure to set it to something like uniform. And then move it downward and downward. And we can go to the right a little bit. Maybe to the left. Let's go a little bit to the left. So now we have a slight shadow there. And now we are going to add that highlight that I talked about. We are going to duplicate this layer again. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, and then we'll make it light with the 2nd color in the 2nd row. Again, drop it in there. And then go to the move and transform tool. And then tap outside of this box. Tap up and to the left a little bit. So you get a slight light edge. And then tap the arrow again. Once you're happy with these feet, you could merge these layers, or you could just merge the light layer with the base layer, for instance, just to save some layer space. Now let's do it for this belly part. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, then grab that dark color, 6th color in the 2nd row, drag it on there, then go to the magic wand to use Gaussian blur, slide to the right to like 5%, then go to the move and transform tool and move it downward a bit. And the further you move it, the more space there will be between the layers of paper. So I want the paper to be pretty close together, so I don't want to move it too much. Then let's duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom layer. Then we can just tap and hold our circle to switch to our previous color, that light color, and drag it on there. Then we'll go to the move and transform tool, tap at the top and a little bit to the left to get a slight little edge, and then tap the arrow again. Then let's move to, well, let's first just merge these together. Then let's move to this face area, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, let's tap and hold for the dark color, drag it on there, and then go to the magic wand to use Gaussian blur, slide to the right to 5%, then go to the move and transform tool and move it downward a little bit. And in this case, let's tap the arrow. In this case, we don't need a light edge because this paper is already light, so you won't see it. Then let's move to this layer and let's pinch these together. Let's go to this layer. Let's duplicate that. Go to the bottom one. Now you could just drag in a color onto these 3 shapes, or you could tap the layer, then tap alpha lock, then tap it again and use fill layer. That's super handy when you have lots of shapes on a layer. Then you need to turn off alpha lock, otherwise you can't blur it. And then go to the magic wand, to Gaussian blur, slide to the right. Let's not blur it too much in this case. Let's go for a high 3%. Then go to the move and transform tool, move it down and to the left just slightly. And then for that light effect, we'll duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one. Let's tap and hold to grab the light color, and let me just drop it in here this time. Then go to the Move and Transform tool and tap up and to the left a little bit for that light edge. And then tap the arrow again. Now for that top part of the beak, this one, let's duplicate that. Then go to the bottom one. And this time I want to add pink there first. Fourth color in the second row. Let's drag that on there. Then let's go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur. Slide to the right to 5%. And then let's change the layer blending mode here. We'll tap the N and we'll scroll up to multiply so that it gets a little bit darker. It also gives a nice reddish touch. Then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool. Move it down just a little. And then let's do this again, but then with the darker color. So we'll duplicate this, go to the bottom one, then we'll make it dark with this color, 6th color, drag it on there, go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right. Well, let's go for 5%, move, then to the Move and Transform tool, and move it down a little bit. And then tap the arrow again. We already have that light edge, so we don't have to do that here. Now let's move to, well, let's first pinch these together. That's no problem. Now let's move to the body shape. I don't want to make a shadow for, well, a shadow that drops on the background yet, because I want to make that shadow when I combine all the layers, the entire penguin. So I just want to have the shadow show up on these wings. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate this layer, then go to the bottom one and drop in that dark color. Then we'll set this layer to clipping mask so that it will only show up on those wings. Then we'll go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur. We'll slide to the right. Let's go for like 10%. I like this. And I like how it both shows up here and here. So let's just keep it like this. Then for the light edge, we'll duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, then grab that light color, 2nd color in the 2nd row, drag it on there, then go to the Move and Transform tool and let's push it to the right a little bit, and then tap the arrow. Then for the wings, we just need that light edge. So let's duplicate this, go to the bottom one, drag in the light color, then go to the Move and Transform tool, and let's move it up a little bit, and then tap the arrow. So now we can merge some layers together, like these flipper layers, and then shadow on top, and these body layers. And then let's move to the eyes. Let's duplicate that. Now, this layer already has that dark color. So let's go ahead and blur it. We'll go to the magic wand and to Gaussian blur, slide to the right, just slightly, like 3%. Then go to the Move and Transform tool, move it down a little bit. Let's zoom in. And then let's lower the opacity a little bit. Let's tap the N, slide to the left to 70%. And what we could also do is go to the magic wand and then to liquefy, make that brush a bit smaller, maybe like 28%. And then you can push this up a little bit as if that middle part of that eye, as if that is glued to the lower layer of paper a bit more. So it's closer to the paper and those other parts stick up a little bit. I think that gives a nice effect. Then for the beanie, well, let's first merge these together, by the way, saving some space. Let's go to the beanie. Let's add a light edge to this pom-pom. Go to the bottom layer, drag on the color. Then go to the Move and Transform tool and move this up a little bit to the left. Then tap the arrow. Then let's do the same for this. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, drag the color on there, then go to the Move and Transform tool, push it up a bit. And then for this part as well. Slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, drag on the color, then go to the move and transform tool and go up to get that nice little edge. And then tap the arrow again. Now we can do the same for this part. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, drag on the color, and the move and transform tool for a slight little edge. And let's also add a slight shadow here. Let's duplicate this one, then go to the bottom one, drag it underneath here, then tap and hold here to grab that dark color, drag it on there, then go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right, just a little, 3%, then go to the move and transform tool and move it down just a little. Then tap the arrow again to get out of there. And then let's pinch these together with the blue part of the beanie. And then let's go here. Let's duplicate this again. And then tap the bottom one and drag that right on top of the beanie. And let's set this to clipping mask so that our shadow will only show up on that blue part. Drag on the color, then go to the magic wand and use Gaussian blur, slide to the right, just slightly to like 5%. Then let's do the same for this pom-pom. Let's pinch these together. And we can pinch all of these together as well. And now we can duplicate it, go to the bottom one, tap this layer to turn on alpha lock, then tap it again to use fill layer, then tap it again to turn off alpha lock, and let's set it to clipping mask so that it's clipped to that pom-pom. The shadow will only show up there. Then go to the magic wand, use Gaussian blur, slide to the right to like 5%. So we get a nice subtle shadow there. And then tap the magic wand again. So now that we have our penguin, and when you're happy with it, you can pinch all the layers of your penguin together. So let's just grab all of these. And if you're unsure about this, then you can always just duplicate your entire project. So you'll always have a backup. I'm going to pinch them together. And then I'm going to duplicate the entire penguin. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to this bottom one, use alpha lock, then tap the layer again to use fill layer, and then turn off alpha lock so we can blur it. We'll go to the magic wand, then do Gaussian blur, slide to the right to maybe 7%. Then go to the magic, no, not the magic wand, the arrow, and then move it down and to the left a bit. Something like this. Maybe we can blur it even more. Let's go to the magic wand and blur it a bit more with Gaussian blur. Like 6%. And let's also lower the opacity a bit. We'll tap the N, slide to the left. Let's go for 70%. Now we are going to set the scene and add a sleigh. Let's tap the plus for a new layer and let's drag it underneath. And then for our color, let's grab this, a second color in the second row. Then what I'd like to do to get nice crisp corners is go to the selection tool, set it to rectangle with color fill turned on. It's turned on if it's blue. Now let's make a rectangular shape. And then let's go to the move and transform tool. We can set it to distort to use these handles to put our, well, the top of our sleigh in perspective. Let's go for something like this. And then tap the arrow again. Now let's make another layer. Let's tap the plus and let's drag it underneath here. And now we are going to create like the bottom of the sleigh. Now for the brush, I'm still using the studio pen and we'll still use that light color. And we'll make, well, first we'll make that bottom And it's like a line like this. And it's like parallel to that part. And it has some thickness. You can just use the quick line tool, or if you'd like it to be a bit more wobbly, a bit more like organic, then you can just do it by hand. Then we'll go to the front here and we'll make like a curl like this. And we'll do the same over there, but first let's fill the shape. And what we could actually do, let me clean this up. Let's grab the eraser here. What we can do is just duplicate this actually and use this curl for the other side as well. But first let's finish this shape. Let's grab the brush again. Let's add a line over here. And let's add 2 here. Like this. It's a nice, simple sleigh. Now let's duplicate this. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate. Let's go to the bottom one and to the move and transform tool. And let's place this one over here. And then tap the arrow again. I hope you're having fun creating this paper cutout effect so far. It's really one of my favorite techniques in Procreate. But if you want to learn a lot more Procreate techniques and really go in depth, get your skills to the next level and dive into realism painting, for instance, then my Patreon is the place to go for you. I have more than 200 tutorials there, and there's just so much to enjoy and learn from. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. But now let's move on with our penguin. Next, let's make a layer underneath. Let's tap the plus, drag that layer underneath, and then let's grab this color. Second color in the first row. I'd like to make like, well, it's not really water, it's like snow. It's what our penguin is sleighing on. Just the shape. We'll start here and go to the front and then make a nice wobbly shape like this. Then drag in a color. And you can adjust it a little bit here. Mine's a little bit wonky. Just create a nice curved shape. And I will make more shapes on top. Let's tap the plus, grab this lighter color, third color in the first row, and we'll make another shape on top. Something like this. And then drag in the color. And then another one on top. We'll tap the plus, grab that color that's even lighter, fourth color in the first row. And then let's make another shape like this. Drag in the color. And I'd also like this light color to be over here. So let's go to this layer. Let's tap the plus and then add a light touch here. Drag in the color. I like the way this looks. Now let's add our paper effect. Let's start with our sleigh. Let's go to this layer. Let's duplicate it. Go to the bottom one and add that dark color. That sixth color in the second row. Drag it on there. Then go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur. Slide to the right to like 5% or 4%. Then go to the move and transform tool and move it down. And to the left just slightly. And now let's lower the opacity. Let's tap the N, set it to maybe 65%. And what we could also do is go to the magic wand to liquefy and push this up a little bit. Let's make the brush a little bit bigger, like 47. Push this up a little bit as if that area is a bit closer to the other paper. Then for the sleigh, first let's start with this one, duplicate it. Go to the bottom one, drag on the color, then go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to 4%, then to the move and transform tool, move this down, And here as well with a liquefy, you could push this a little bit, for instance, making the distance there bigger. Then let's lower the opacity, tap the end, slide to 65%. And then let's go to this layer, this shadow. I don't want it to show up on this part, on this paper. So what we'll do is first we'll go to this layer, then tap it, then use select. Then make sure you turn off color fill. Then go to your layer menu to this layer with shadow. Then go to your eraser and erase that shadow over here. And then tap the S shaped ribbon again. Then let's go to this part of the sleigh. Let's duplicate it. Go to the bottom one, drag in a color. Then go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to 4%. Then go to the move and transform tool and move it down a bit. And then again, you could use a liquefy and push this down a little bit for some more distance there. And in some places you could push to make it appear closer to the lower paper. And now let's lower the opacity, tap the N, set it to 65% or 66, close enough. And now we have our sleigh. Now let's move to the other layers of paper. And once you're happy with your sleigh, by the way, you can just pinch these together. And then let's move to these. Let's duplicate this, go to the bottom one, drag the color on top, go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to 5%, then to the move and transform tool and move it down just a little. And then for the light effect, we're going to duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, then grab the light color, second color in the second row, drag it on there, then to the move and transform tool and tap up and a little bit to the right. And then tap the arrow again. I will do this again for the other layers. These we can pinch together. Now let's go to this one. This one is underneath the others, so we don't need to add a shadow, but I do want that light edge. So let's duplicate it, go to the bottom one, drag on the color, then go to the move and transform tool and just tap up like 3 times and then tap the arrow again. Next, let's go to this one, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, then grab that dark color, 6th color, drag it on there, go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to 5%, then to the move and transform tool and move it down just slightly so that it's nice and close to the other paper. Then we'll add the light edge. So we need to duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one. We can tap and hold to switch to our previous color. Drag it on there, go to the move and transform tool, tap up like 3 times. And then finally, we need to do it for this one. We can pinch these together by now. Duplicate this, go to the bottom one, tap and hold to switch to the previous color, drag it on there, go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to like 4 or 5%, maybe 4. Then go to the move and transform tool, move it down just slightly. And then we need that light effect. So we need to duplicate this again, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, tap and hold for the previous color, drag that on there, then go to the move and transform tool and tap up like 3 times and then tap the arrow again. Now we can merge these layers together. Just make sure that your sleigh is still on a separate layer. Now for the final fun touches, we are going to make some layers in between the sleigh and this like pool. Let's tap the plus, and then for our brush, we still use the studio pen with that light color. And we are going to make some splashes like behind our penguin. like this. And I will make a new layer for the next splash. Every single splash will have a separate layer. Don't make it too close to the other one. So we'll splash like this. Drag in the color. This one is a little bit wonky, so we'll just go over here. Then let's make another one. Tap the plus. I'll make one over here. Drag in the color. And then underneath, let's go here. Let's tap the plus. Now I'd like to grab the blue, this one, fourth color in the first row, and make another splash over here. Drag in a color, and then another one on top of this. Let's tap the plus. Let's go like this. Drag in a color, and then maybe another loose splash. Let's tap the plus, another white one. Let's grab the white color and make one like this, for instance. Drag in a color. Make sure that it's nice and crisp here. What you could do is grab the eraser and then make this part a bit more crisp. And now this needs shadows. So let's start with this one. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one, and then grab this dark color, 6th color in the second row, drag it on there. That was the wrong one. Let's drag it on here. Then go to the magic wand, to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to like 5%. Then go to the move and transform, so we'll move it down a bit. And then we'll go to liquefy again. We'll tap liquefy and move it down here so that this area, it looks as if it's higher up, that there's a bigger distance between the paper layers. So something like this. Then we'll lower the opacity to like 70%. And then we'll do the same for the other layers. Let's go to this one, duplicate it, go to the bottom one, drag on the color, go to Gaussian blur, go for like 5%, go to the move and transform tool, move it down a little bit, and then use liquefy again. Push this down, this up a little bit to get that effect. Then lower the opacity by tapping the N and sliding to 70%. Then do the same for this one. Slide to the left to duplicate it. Go to the bottom one. Drag the color on there. Then to Gaussian blur. Slide to the right to 5%. Then to the move and transform tool. Move it down. And then go to liquefy. Let's push it up here a bit. This one is a bit closer to the other paper. I want this to be a bit more subtle. Then tab the N to lower the opacity to 70%. And then let's go to this little droplet, duplicate it, go to the bottom one, drag on the color, go to Gaussian blur, slide to the right, then to the move and transform tool, move it a bit, and then use liquefy again. Push it like this. And then lower the opacity. Tap the N, set it to 70%. And I will do the same for these droplets. Duplicate it, go to the bottom one, drag on the color, go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, set it to 5%, then go to the move and transform tool, move it down a little bit, then go to liquefy, push it a little bit here, push it closer over here, and then lower the opacity. Tap the N, slide to 70%. And let's also give this one that light edge. So we'll duplicate this, then go to the bottom one, Then grab that light color. You can just tap and hold to grab the previous color, drag it on there, then go to the Move and Transform tool and push it up a little bit. Then I'd also like to add a bit of a gradient to this paper. Let's go to this layer. Now we can tap it and turn on alpha lock so we won't be able to paint outside those edges. Then we'll go to the airbrushing brushes and use the soft brush. Now the opacity of this brush is at 80%. Let's set the size to 15. And then let's just add a bit of this light color to the outer part like this. So we get a nice little gradient. Then let's do the same for the other droplet. Let's duplicate it, go to the bottom one. First we'll grab our dark color again, drag that on there, go to Gaussian blur, set it to 5%, go to the Move and Transform tool, move it down a bit, and then we'll use a liquefy again and push this down a little bit. Then let's lower the opacity, tap the N, slide to 70%, and then for the light edge, we'll duplicate this again, go to the bottom layer, grab our light color just by tapping and holding, and then drag it on there. Then go to the Move and Transform tool, tap up like 3 times, and then for a little gradient, we can go to this layer, tap it to turn on alpha lock, and then with our soft brush, we can add a slight gradient there. So now we have our splashes. You can just pinch them all together actually. And now for a final touch, let's add some snowflakes. Let's do that on a layer on top of all the others. Let's tap the plus, then tap and hold the little check mark. So all of the other layers will be turned off. To create the snowflakes, I just want to make one snowflake and then duplicate that. But of course you can also make multiple snowflake designs. And I'd like to use the symmetry tool for this. We'll go to the wrench, then to canvas, then turn on drawing guide, then tap edit drawing guide, go to symmetry, then to options and set it to horizontal. But vertical would also be fine, but this time I'd like to use horizontal. Then tap done. Then for the brush, I'd like to go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. We'll stick to the light color and let's set the size of the brush to 100%. Now when you go to your layer menu, you will see that this layer is assisted. That means that whatever we draw here will also show up here at the bottom. Now let's start here at the center. Let's make a line like this. Then another one over here. And then create a little like roof here. First we'll make a line like this. Then one like this. Then we'll make a line upward like this. And we'll make lines here and on this side. Now you can add extra touches to your snowflake, like this for instance, and here. Line like this. Then let's use the eraser. Let's grab that and make some nice crisp corners like this by cutting off some parts. That will make more sense for a paper cutout snowflake. So now we have our snowflake. We can turn off our drawing guide. And then let's turn all the other layers on again. Let's tap and hold so everything is turned on. Then let's go to the Move and Transform tool. Set it to uniform to make this snowflake smaller. I also feel like we could squish it a little bit. So you can set it to freeform, squish it a bit like this, and then back to uniform. And now let's find some nice places for our snowflakes. So one over here, then we can tap the arrow. Then you can swipe down with 3 fingers to duplicate this and move it around. Make it bigger or smaller. Every time you can, well, if it works, you can slide down with 3 fingers, use duplicate, place your snowflake wherever you like. I'll go back to the first one. Once you have made a snowflake very small and you want a bigger one again, it's best to go back to the original. Otherwise, you will have some quality loss. One over here. Then I'll slide down again, tap duplicate, make this one smaller. And you can continue doing this with a variety of snowflakes. You can definitely add your own personal touch here, but you can do this until you're happy with the amount of snowflakes, and then you can just pinch these layers together. Let's also turn off assisted drawing. So we can tap the layer, turn off drawing assist, and then let's add another color to some of these snowflakes. Let's grab this one, for instance, third color in the first row. And then for instance, we can drag it on here and on this one. And then our snowflakes just need a shadow. So let's duplicate this layer, go to the bottom one, tap it to turn on alpha lock, then grab our dark color, then go back to the layer and use fill layer. Then we need to turn off alpha lock, otherwise we can blur. Then go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur, slide to the right to like 3%. Then go to the move and transform tool and move it down like this. And we can blur it even more. Go to the magic wand to Gaussian blur. Go for something like this, like 4%. And then you can tap the magic wand again, and we can lower the opacity of the shadow a bit by tapping the end, setting it to 70%. And there you have your paper cutout penguin. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to see you next time for the next tutorial.